So my last video was really a confession of depression and anxiety in an effort to drive awareness to it. In my life, I was suffering from anxiety and had no clue. I just assumed how I felt was normal. That's how everybody felt about day-to-day activities. And I realized that that was not the case. And I could seek a better quality of life if I addressed this issue of anxiety in my life. So check out the other video if you haven't seen it, just to kind of drive that message home. But today I want to talk about something else. I want to talk about the hashtag Alone Together. So right now, things are absolutely crazy. And it doesn't matter who you are, it doesn't matter whether you had anxiety before or not. Things are more stressful than ever. Some people seem to be handling it very well, but most people on some level are having difficulty sleeping, all the way to way worse than that. So if you didn't have anxiety before, maybe now you do. And if you did, well, you're getting a run for your money right now. Maybe you're one of the ones that are at home, working from home or out of work, unfortunately. And that can be a struggle. Maybe you're an essential worker and you're having to get up and go to work and function every day with all of this on your mind. The concern, am I going to get it? Am I going to give it to somebody else? What's going to happen to the economy? Man, things are just all over the place right now. But even if you're an essential worker, all of us should be finding more time alone, more time to be still. And that's not always an easy thing to do. With everything that we have at our fingertips, technology-wise, our life is full of distractions. And I'm not I'm not preaching from a pulpit here, guys. I'm hopelessly addicted to technology. I love my cell phone. I can't go very long without checking it. You know, I fit that bill. And it can be, you know, streaming services are off the chart right now. Video game usage is off the chart right now. Alcohol consumption is off the chart right now. And my home's no different. We're all looking for these distractions. But I wonder if being still and being quiet isn't a bad thing. That could be a difficult thing. I'm an introvert, so I tend to want to be alone anyway, but when my anxiety and depression are really bad, being alone can be a struggle. And obviously, if you really struggle with this stuff, you should talk to your doctor or therapist. I'm not telling you to go on this week-long alone thing. That can be very dangerous if you're not prepared for it. I'm talking about something different. I'm talking about utilizing what's been given to us in the best way possible. A couple of years ago, I took a backpacking trip. I have experience doing that. It's one of my hobbies. And this particular one, I went alone. And I was alone for 48 hours. I hiked about 19 miles. And it was completely life-changing, being alone for that long, being still for that long, not having any distractions. I couldn't flip on the TV. I couldn't go play on the Xbox. I couldn't even check my phone. I had no cell service whatsoever. And it's interesting because 48 hours alone really changes somebody. It's interesting because all of a sudden I had time to process. I had time to think. And at first, that's a bad thing. At first, my anxiety was off the charts. And it was very difficult. At first, you know, it became bears and whatever else is out in the woods, right? At first, I was unbearable. I couldn't stand to be with myself. How many of us struggle with that? This question. Ask yourself. Can you stand to be with yourself? Can you stand a quiet house with no electronics on? Can you stand being with yourself? And I couldn't. It was very tough. I'm an introvert, so I like being alone, but I also like to be occupied. I even have a tough time watching TV sometimes. It has to be something very interesting. I am not just a TV watcher. I'm a video gamer because I have to be occupied. I have to be thinking, I have to be distracted. But back to the woods. So I'm alone, and at first it's very difficult, but as time evolved into the second day, I was out there for 2 nights. You begin to process things. You begin to dwell or think about things. And you have to be extremely intentional, so be very careful here. I'm not suggesting that this is healthy for everyone. I'm just, again, talking about making the most of what we have now, okay? So if your therapist or doctor may strongly recommend that you don't spend significant amounts of time very alone. Please don't misunderstand my point. But I was able to process things. I was able to think about things. And like I said, at first that's dangerous because I overthink. But as time went on and I was just able to just let these things kind of settle in my mind. And the end of it was amazing. My mental health was so good after that. Just having that opportunity to kind of cleanse all those thoughts. You know, and think about that. We don't spend a lot of time in reflective thought. We don't spend enough time, I think, processing stuff. Life can be painful, life can be difficult, life can be a lot of things, positive and negative. And the good things and the bad things, we often don't spend enough time processing and reflecting on, learning from, understanding. And so I want to set up my next video by that word, understanding. And I think one of the key things about that we can get from this time right now, as we're alone together, as we're spending more time apart, we are given more time to ourselves, more time to maybe understand ourselves better. For those of you with kids, I got 3. That can be tough, even if you are home and not able to go and do stuff. And sometimes it might be more difficult because a car ride here or there might be able to give you that time. Maybe it's very early in the morning. Maybe it's very late at night. Whatever the case is, I recommend taking some time and trying to understand yourself. Understand what's going on in your mind. When I'm alone, my faith, I'm a Christian, so when I'm alone, I tend to dwell on prayer. And I like that because it gives me a specific avenue to process things, somebody to talk to. But whatever your method is, being able to just sort through those thoughts can be a very good thing. So I challenge you. Try to wrap your mind around your patterns. Try to think about and think through the things that trigger your anxiety, the things that add fuel to the fire, the things that really stress you out. And then try to think about the things that help. And I'll address that in my next video. Things that help me, things that, be they daily routine, be they something specific and monumental, like going hiking for 48 hours alone. Whatever the case is, everybody's different. So I can talk about what helps me. I can talk about what helps improve my quality of life as I struggle with anxiety and depression. But you are different. So I challenge you, make full use of this opportunity. Understand yourself. Maybe you need to journal. I'm not, I probably should. Take notes, you know, mental notes if they're not written notes, just things that, wow, today this really, maybe it's a specific time of day, maybe it's specific events during the day, maybe it's when your kids do this, or maybe it's when your boss does that. But what are those things that drive you nuts? What are the things that spur on that anxiety? So I challenge you, think, take note of those, mental or otherwise, and we'll talk about what to do with them next time. But being alone, it's not always a bad thing. After all, we can be alone together.